Welcome to another edition of One Voice at a Time. This is the show where you get to come on and talk about whatever's important to you. It can be information, it can be opinion, anything that's important, anything that you want to talk about. And we won't argue with you. We'll give you that opportunity to speak and to get your opinions out without interruption. It'll be a conversation at best. Today, we're happy to have Deb Paul with us again. Deb is the publisher owner of the Londonderry Times. We'll let that information out right away. But I want you to understand that when Deb comes on here, she's coming on as an individual, as a citizen, as a resident of Londonderry, to share her opinions with us. This is not the stance of the Londonderry Times. And today, we're going to talk about something that has become very important to Deb in recent times. And that is a couple of petitions that you're putting forward for the meeting, the annual meeting.
Right, and that meeting, it's to go to the voters.
Yes.
The school deliberative is February 5th, Friday night, and the town one is the next Saturday morning.
Right.
At the CAF at the middle school. And these are very important to go to. This is where you adjust and readjust the petitions and the warrant articles, and can put, it's kind of like town meeting was, except it's before the vote as opposed to after the vote.
Yeah. Can I just ask, you said at the middle school, is that where it's going to be held this year? We
Oh,
normally
I
have
lied.
it at the high school.
I lied, shame on me.
Gotta watch her.
I apologize.
Just wanted to make sure. So
It's the
they're
high
always
school.
at the high
It's the
school
high
in the
school.
cafeteria.
Yes, I made a
Yeah.
mistake.
No, that's fine. And they are televised, but we want you to come to the meeting and
It's
have your
very,
say.
very important
Yeah.
to come
Yeah.
and to speak, because what happens is when people don't come and speak, the people that we elect and appoint feel if nobody's coming and saying anything, then everything we're doing is perfect.
And nobody's complaining, so
And so
we're okay.
everything is
Yeah.
good. And, you know, there is no such thing as a complaint. I'm a big believer in fully vetting everything publicly.
I agree.
And
That's why
no
we do
question-
transparency in government.
Well, we like to.
Well, my show is Transparency in Government, the other one. So we're trying.
We're trying. But the thing is that you should never be intimidated as a resident. You should be able to feel that you can come there and ask any question, and they really should not be condescending or rude or say, oh, you should know this. They should
They should
really
be
be
encouraged.
accepting and encourage that you
Encouraged, yeah.
stepped forward,
Yeah.
because it is very, very, very intimidating.
And that's, I'm glad you used that word, because that's really what started this show, was watching people go to public meetings and try to stand up and give their opinions, and then see how intimidated they got, and they backed off and didn't come again. So I wanted them to have a forum where they could say whatever it was they wanted to say.
Right.
We don't get to decide whether they're right or wrong. It's their opinion, so
Right.
it's valid.
And if you're new to a certain thing, you may not know everything.
Right.
And so therefore you feel, oh my gosh, they know everything, I know nothing.
Yeah.
But that's not true. And you really should be encouraging, and they are sitting up high, and it is televised. And so you do feel
Yeah.
that kind of, oh my gosh, you know.
Well, and those deliberative sessions have
Is-
become even more important now, because it used to be, back in the old days, that we would go to those meetings and we'd bring up the warrant articles one at a time, we would discuss them, we would vote on them right there and then. But now, we're voting at the polls. So if we want to make any changes or we want to have our say, that's the only place to do it, before the vote.
You're correct.
And we can make some amendments if it doesn't vastly change, can't change the intent of the
Intent.
article, but there are some amendments that can be made that are valid, like costs and things like
Right,
that.
and they technically, they have to help you do this. So even if you
Yes.
don't know what you're doing, by
Yeah.
law, they have to assist you and show you
Yes.
the way to do something. So don't feel like, oh, I don't know what to do.
Like how to submit that amendment in writing to the moderator at the meeting.
Correct, correct. And you know, the reason that we changed from the vote is for a few reasons. And just a little history here. When AES came, the voters voted against it. And then it went through, and the people
Get a
didn't.
non-binding referendum on the ballot, yeah.
And people didn't understand. They
Yeah.
said, well, we voted against it. It shouldn't. And they didn't understand that their vote wasn't finished. They had to show up on that Saturday to vote against the second part that said, if this fails, this is what comes in. And the same thing happened with the police station and the town hall, and people were like, we don't understand. You know, we voted against these things, yet they still moved forward, and how did that happen? And to tell you the truth, I was pretty ignorant to all of it, but I kind of forced to learn it all because of the newspaper.
Well, the town meetings in New Hampshire, I mean, in other parts of the country as well, but town meetings in New Hampshire were always so interactive. And I think that as people came into the community that were not used to that way of governing their town, they didn't maybe realize that they really did have a say, other than just at the voting for the officers. They actually had a say. So.
Well, you're absolutely right. And, you know, a lot of it is people, I mean, you hit a certain point in your life where you move somewhere, now you're a taxpayer, and, you know, there's a whole learning curve, and, you know, you're involved with schools because you have children in school, and you want to have a say, and you see things. And what happens is people tend to back away, but what they don't understand is you elect people to be your voice. Then those people hire people to be your voice. This is your tax dollar, your money, paying for every service that you get and every direction you want it to go in. So if you feel that Londonderry's growing too much, then you know you should come and get involved on the implementation committee that will be here on the 20th.
The planning implementation, the master plan.
Right, and you should be here and saying, you know, this is not what we want. This is how we want it. And personally, for me, it's the majority rules. It's not necessarily what I feel.
If you're interested in the master plan too, you can go on to the town's website.
Right.
And
we have
you
positions
can
open.
You can see it there, and you can also see what positions are open and get involved in that way. That would be great.
And I think
we will be televising those meetings, Transparency in Government.
Yes.
We'll be televising them here in the studio, and there will be room for an audience. So if you'd like to come and
I hope
watch,
so.
observe, participate.
I hope so, because I personally feel that, you know, town officials do make decisions, but sometimes town officials don't really have boots to the ground and really know what's going on. And that's not, I wasn't trying to be disrespectful to them, because they volunteer their time and they don't get paid for it, and I get that. But sometimes you just get disconnected because you move to a different little spectrum, a little
I was
fight
just
them
going to
over
say,
here
and don't
over here.
Don't you think that all of us have this tendency to sort of hang out with the people who agree with us?
No, not me.
I don't either, but I think that happens a lot. I like to have the discussion, but I think that happens a lot. So if you're all kind of sitting around going, yeah, what he said, you sort of get that sense that you're on the right track. But you know, there are other people out there that have different opinions, and those opinions are important and might really change the direction of where we're going.
Right, and the more you vet stuff, the more you talk, the more you discuss, the more people with different backgrounds and experiences bring more to the table. It's looking under every rock. All of it, there's going to be that aha moment where, oh my gosh, we never even thought of that. That's the perfect blend of what we need to do. And that's what really...
And then the community members can feel they have ownership in how that decision came about.
Yeah, so one of the petitions that is for me, that I brought forward, was to put term limits on boards and committees. Now, the reason in my head for this is to create a better feeding system. Right now,
get some new ideas.
People can come in, because there'll be people who will step up because of, oh my gosh, that have been sitting on the sidelines, but there's somebody there, I don't need to go. So now there's something open that they will step forward, and hopefully what will happen with this is that they'll move chairs around too, because it seems that our chairs sit there
as the chairperson
I'm
of the
sorry,
committee.
yes.
That's okay.
The chair people of different boards and committees tend to sit there for a long time. And nobody really, you get on a board, but you'll never really be able to run the board. You may be able to say something here or there, but it's good to have the chair there for like 2 years and just sit one seat over, and the vice chair becomes the chair, and then you vote in a new vice chair. But at least you're having a feeder system so that you're not depending on one person's memory, one person's understanding, because God forbid if something happens to that one person and somebody who knows nothing has to step up,
Gone.
and there's nobody there to teach you how to do it. And that's what happened to me recently
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
implementation committee.
Right.
The chair had a family situation, wasn't going to be there. It was like, Deb, here, do the chair. And I said,
Yep.
okay. And I've chaired boards, but not in a municipal
committee,
sense.
yeah.
I've done it in the nonprofit world, where again, you're moved forward, but there's different rules. And I was fine with that. But nobody helped me. Nobody said anything. And I really think that
You're right, it's interesting. I hadn't thought about that, but I also worked with a number of boards and committees for nonprofits and things like that. And that feeder system was part of the policy and procedures for that group. It's interesting that we've known that in the nonprofit sector, but we really haven't brought that into
right, and it's there
public
for
sector.
numerous reasons.
Oh, yeah.
To make sure that not one person has too much power or control.
Yeah.
To make sure that they always have new blood, new ideas, and that's, you know,
Yeah.
really
And the
just-
history gets passed on. And, yeah.
Exactly, and without that, you're really kind of stagnating, and if you're stagnating, you're dying.
Yeah.
And so you have to keep fresh and relevant, and that's a good thing. So that
And I
was
think too that if, excuse me for interrupting you, but I think too that if you have someone who's in a chair for a very long time, the members on that committee will get to know, without even thinking about it, well, there's no point in bringing this up or bringing that up because it never goes anywhere. So I hadn't thought about that.
Right,
But
and-
that's stifling as well as stagnating.
It is, and you know, you're sitting there and you don't want to be confrontational or challenge people, and it usually is, well, I'll do chair again. Anybody want to do this? And
Nope.
nobody will challenge anything because they don't want to be that individual, and it's very public, and it's an uncomfortable zone. And I
And it is a little bit more responsibility to be the chair.
It
So
is.
sometimes people hesitate for that reason. But
It is,
you know,
but it's
step
not-
up. It's
not that
workable.
bad.
No.
If you're on a bigger board, such as you know, planning or you get help from
the staff.
the staff of the town. So you do get a little bit of
And there's also that delegate thing
yes.
that you can do.
Yes.
So that helps.
I do think that, you know, there should be, when they have openings like they do now, many openings, I
Yeah.
encourage everyone to step forward and try to get appointed to all these seats and have them filled. And hopefully it won't be the same old, same old. It will be new people with new experiences.
And you can come on a board as a new person, and you can have a learning curve. You don't have to jump right in there and know everything all at once.
And you and I will relate to this. Being born or brought up into the 60s, we were taught,
Oh, I think
be
I'm
respectful.
way older than you, but okay.
Be respectful, but challenge everything. Question everything.
oh,
Just
yes,
because
yes.
somebody who sits in power says, oh, RSA says this, or this is wrong, or
Ask.
this is the way it was. You know what? I'm not being disrespectful, but prove that to me, because I don't believe
Explain
that to
why,
be true.
what's going forward. Yeah, it's funny that I definitely was brought up that way, and I brought my daughter up that way as well, to respectfully question and challenge.
And, you know, some people take offense to that. Personally, I like being questioned.
too.
But everybody has their own little drum. But the other thing is as we have these volunteers step up, and I'm hoping to shine a light on something and just get dialogues going.
Yes.
I think that the processes and procedures are not written down, and they're not standardized for all groups, boards, and committees. So nobody really knows, you know, what they're supposed to do, how they're supposed to do it. There's no, so we got 3 new members, there's no little class or training that says, this is how we operate, this is what you're responsible for, this is what you need to do. And I think by doing what I'm doing, it shines a light on something. And hopefully enough people, you know, will vote for it and say, yeah, we should talk about this, because the referendum has no power, no teeth, really, except advisory.
Right.
It's just to get a dialogue going and to look at something.
So now, what is the language of that? Well, I know you don't have it right in front of you, but you know,
But
that one
basically,
is,
we took out all the big boards, the land use boards, because I was told that supposedly those boards are handled by legislation. And so therefore, we would have to open up the charter and relook at it, which isn't a bad idea to begin with. The charter was written many years ago and has had many amenities to it. And, you know, I always hear people say, well, that was the will of the people. But
At
that
that
charter was
time.
at that time, and most of those people, to be very honest,
Are
aren't
gone.
there. And the town has changed immensely since then. So maybe it's a good idea to put a
Yeah.
process in that says every 10 years,
Yeah.
whether we want to
And
or not.
you're not challenging the RSAs. You're just saying, okay, this is what the RSA says you have to do. But I'm just saying, that for the operation of this board, okay, let's just put something in place that makes it more friendly for people to get involved. Okay.
And that everybody's treated equal. And not that you're I sit somewhere
Yeah, no,
and
never.
I say
Yeah.
I'm going to place you in, because you're my friend. And
Of
we
course
are
not.
like-minded. So like you had just said earlier, the like-mindedness. I think it's good to have different minds, different views, different
Absolutely.
opinions. The more the better. That's always been my take on things.
I've
And-
always advised people to listen really closely to the people that they consider their opponents or their foes or whatever you want to call them, because they have some good ideas too.
Right. At the end of the day, it's about the greater good.
Absolutely.
It's about
It
what's
should
best
be.
for the majority of people in our community, and to make our community
Better.
best and better, and make
Yeah.
it feel like a village, that they have ownership to it, and that they feel part of it, and that they have that connection to it, so that they
Right.
don't leave, so that they do stay. I mean, that's one of the big issues in the state. They always keep saying, well, our young kids run away because they're not connected
Yeah.
and they're not invested. I mean, growing up in Revere, Massachusetts, it was a city. And
But you've transplanted well.
I did. It was a learning curve. Trust me on this one. But it was because eventually Revere changed. It was no longer a village. I mean,
This is true.
it changed into a whole different element. And I get that. But I think everybody looks for that Mayberry, that Norman Rockwell setting where everyone knows
Yeah,
everyone,
yeah.
and you walk down the street and people say hello, or you're at an event and you feel like this is an extended part of your family. You don't have to worry about your child running around on the town
Yeah,
common
you're having a problem, the community comes
behind you and help
helps,
you.
yeah.
And yeah, that's
Yeah,
to me
those
what I
kind of
think
things.
everyone's looking for. It's a given. But a lot of us never had it, so they don't know how to create it and to
Yes.
get there.
Yeah.
And part of it is volunteering and being part of and putting your neck out there
Exactly.
to say, whoa, 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 this is wrong. It should be this way. And you know what? What really, at the end of the day, have you lost? Nothing. Nothing changes. The next day goes on as nothing ever happened. And so that's what I'm hoping for. And in the bigger scheme of things, maybe elected positions get looked at. Maybe not, this will go through the whole country. Who
Yeah.
knows? Maybe we're starting something
Yeah.
here that will be very contagious, because God knows we'd love to see Senate and Congress be limited to their times.
Yeah, I had not felt that way in years past, but I think that people were handling those roles differently in the past than they are now. And there is less connection. Before, somebody might have been in there for, well, okay, let's mention a name, Bob Lincoln. On the school board forever, okay? Never stopped trying, never stopped working, even after he went off. God bless him, he was out here, doing things by hand out on the fields to help the community. So with someone like him, the fact that he was there forever, he was the historian, he had new ideas, he listened to people. There were a lot of good things about that. But I do think it's a little bit different now. I think people are coming in with their own ideologies, and they're sort of just going that way and forgetting that they're supposed to be representing us.
Right, because I mean...
Not everybody, but that happens.
I mean, I can't speak for everybody or anything.
No.
I can just say that, because I do own the paper, I go to a lot of events, school events. I go to a lot of town events.
Yeah.
I can honestly say I do not see school board members. I do not see town councilors attending. So how connected are they?
Yeah.
Maybe they do, and I'm not there at those events. But
Yeah.
for the most part, I really don't see them there a lot. And so I think you're right. But I think it's because they're working, they have families, they're volunteering as counselors.
Oh,
So
yeah,
it
there's a
sucks
lot
up a lot of
going on.
time.
Yeah,
and I get that.
absolutely, yeah.
And I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying it's something to think
And
about.
not saying that it's not appreciated, what they do. But
Exactly.
let's just step out and do a little bit different, a little bit more.
Right, and that's a personal opinion, personal observation. There you go. But That being said, you have people who, like, we'll use Bob Lincoln, name recognition.
Absolutely.
People know him. Everyone knows him. His name's on everything.
Yeah.
He's there. And so I'm a newcomer. I'm just got some time, and I want to be involved in stuff. And I look at it and go, do I really want to spend a couple of $1,000s to get on a committee or a board, run for office?
Run for office. Yeah.
And
It doesn't cost you anything to get on a committee.
no, but I mean, well, you got to get appointed. But
If you want to get elected, that's another
elected.
story.
I mean, if you want to be elected, let's be honest. It's you got to go against someone with name recognition, and you have to, and the positions don't pay. It's not like you're getting
Not
money.
much.
But
Some of them
it's,
pay a little bit, yeah.
but it's really nothing.
Nothing.
It's probably reimbursement for your signs once you made it.
Well, when I was on the school board, somebody I was doing a presentation to one of the classes at the high school, and of course, one of the kids wanted to know, well, what do you get paid to do this? And I said, oh, how much an hour do you get paid to do this? And I said, well, the last time I figured it out, it worked out to about a nickel.
Wow.
So he wasn't really inspired to do that for his life's work. But so they're not in it for the money.
Right, we
For
get
sure,
that.
yeah.
But the point I was making is, so I'm a newcomer, I have newfound time, I'd like to run.
Yeah.
But the existing people have so much more name recognition. What are my chances of beating them? And
Can I
that's
throw out a little hint for
I-
people
I-
who might want to run?
sure.
And
I
they're-
welcome it. I want to see
Okay.
challenged races. I'm sick
Yeah.
of people running with no contestation.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. I agree. I think there should be, because that creates another dialogue, which is really good. One of the things that you just said about name recognition, that's been proven over and over and over again. And so we know that name recognition will help you get elected. If the people who are maybe not really paying attention to all of the little details of the issues will go into the ballot, they'll see,
And that's the majority.
they'll see John Doe and they'll see John Smith, and they'll go, John Smith, now I've heard about that one. Okay, maybe I've read about him in the Londonderry Times. But I recognize that, I'm more apt to check that one off. For people who want to get involved, one of the things that I've always recommended to them is don't just pop up at election time. Don't just come out when it's time to register to vote, to run. Be there ahead of time. Show people that you have the interest, you have the desire, that you want to learn, and you're committed to doing well. And you will be getting the name recognition, and you'll also be getting the relevance. Okay?
a basic
People will
understanding.
now see, and that was the next thing, and it's also sort of a training ground. Back in the old days, the recommendation for everybody was just sort of accepted. If you wanted to be a school board member or a town selectman at that time, you went on the budget committee first, because there's a lot of learning that goes on in the budget committee. It's amazing how differently you look at the money once you actually know how it's being spent. So there are ways to get out there and get the information and let people know that you're interested, but you're willing to learn, and then step up.
Right. And you know, you guys here at the Access Center provide a great service by interviewing all of them bipartisanly. You know, just here they are. This is what they, you know, good
Yep.
generic questions that they can answer, so people can get a good feel. And obviously, we write about them. You know,
And on this
is-
show, they can just come on and say whatever that is important to them.
exactly.
So
You know,
Glad to give them
I've
this-
been
the
thinking,
time.
you know, at some point of running for town council. I've always, or even being on planning or school board. For me personally, I have felt that it was a little bit of a conflict, and that I would have to recuse myself a lot because of what I do.
I can see where that might
And
happen.
I felt at that point that I would do a disservice to the people of this community by doing that.
Because you couldn't fully
Exactly. So
serve them. Yeah.
I didn't, but people have said to me, "Oh, you should run, you should run, you should run." I did, you know, put out a thing on Facebook, and I'm thinking about it. I got about 1,000 people to say they would vote for me, but as you know, due to medical issues, I may not be able to even
Yeah.
think about
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah.
Looking,
Yep. Don't overreach. Wait until
Forward.
the time is right.
but I really wish that people would step up, and I just think,
This community has so many incredibly intelligent people here.
We do.
You know, let's not just send those brains down to Boston to work in a corporate office somewhere. Spend some of that here.
Exactly. Exactly. And, you know, that was the whole gist of what I put out there. I think I threatened a lot of people unintentionally. I think a lot of people misinterpreted it. But the true intent was, you know, after that experience, was to say, whoa, 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 maybe, and I know this is going to sound silly, but I believe sometimes things happen for a reason. It was time for me to intervene. That's why I experienced this. That's why I needed to, you know, some people may try to twist it and go, you have a spiteful vendetta or whatever. You know what? At the end of the day, we're all just people, and you can live your life and I'll live my life, but I say what I say. I don't not like you. I will always respect people for putting in those times. I just may not have a beer with you, but that's okay too. Do you know what I mean? I would, if I have to work with you.
Beer anyway,
yeah.
so.
If I have to work with you, I have to work with you, and that you just move on.
Well, you know, I think, Deb, for people that know you or know me or know both of us, one of the things that we probably would both hear is that we are extremely opinionated. Okay, we don't agree with everything. We want to really discuss it and chew it up and figure out what's good and what's bad. And I think if you and I can sit and have exchanges of opinions and everything, and maybe we don't go for beer because I don't drink beer, but we can go for coffee. But that's something that we respect each other. We respect our rights to have our differing opinions, and that's fine. And I think that's what people need to see when they're looking at this petition warrant article. Don't think of this as being the Deb Paul warrant article. It's not. It's a resident of the community who wants to make things better. So look at it in that way. You may choose to support it. You may choose not to. How can they get more information?
Well, they can just call the office.
Okay. Do you want to give out that number?
537-2760. That's, you know, I'm always there.
Yeah.
For the
And
most
she
part.
does always take the call unless she's in a meeting.
And then I will call back.
Yeah.
But it really isn't, it needs to be put a light on.
Yeah.
And I think we've hit a point, we've grown so big that there are plenty of people here. People need to start moving forward instead of sitting back and saying, oh, well, nothing ever changed. And they're the first ones to complain, but the last ones to step up. So in the words of Reed Clark, you get a golden ticket if you step up and complain. If you go and volunteer and you vote, then you get a golden ticket, and you can bellyache till the cows come home.
There was a person who was very active in the community in years past, and he always suggested, and I thought this was a wonderful idea, when you go to the polls to vote, you get a card, and it says, I voted in 2016. And you put that in your wallet, and wherever you go, if you have an opinion about something that's going on in town, you can present your card, okay, and say, I have a right to have this opinion because I participated.
I love it.
I thought
wish
it
they
was a
would bring it
great
back.
idea.
Let's bring it back. I think
Well,
it's
we never
awesome.
did it, but I think it would be a great thing
I think
to
it's
do.
awesome.
I think it would be, yeah.
I think it's awesome.
We're going to work on that.
There we go.
We are going to work on that.
There we go.
It was a great idea, and it never came to fruition.
But at the election, keep in mind, the Historical Society will be there selling memorabilia and baked goods. Please support them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They're not supported by the town. They have to maintain those properties. It's a lot of work to it. So please donate to them.
And they don't ask us very often for anything.
No, they do get
So,
some monies,
yeah.
but it's for the insurance and some of the maintenance. I mean, it's very expensive to keep up old buildings. And we are still trying to get that other building back and hopefully procure some other pieces that are great for the town so that we do have a piece of our history, because that is who we are.
And full disclosure, she's on the Historical Committee.
Sorry.
That's okay. Historical Society, I should say. No, we don't have to be sorry about that. We're glad. We're glad.
But I will be having a petition, not for this year's election, but for next year's election. And if anybody wants to come by the office to sign it, it will be to open up the charter, to look at these things. And what happens when you open up the charter? If it passes in 2017, if people vote for it, then we have to elect a charter committee. And then that information gets put, whatever the charter committee comes out with gets put on the ballot again. So it is not. It's a
are like
long
three-
process.
3 years
Three
plus.
electives.
Yeah.
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 So, but it's a good thing, and it's good for people to start thinking about it. And I just want people to be involved so bad.
All ideas are welcome.
Yeah. Yeah.
They have to be. They have to be. Now, is there just one article going on, or is there two?
There's a couple of articles.
Okay.
They're not mine.
Well, I was just
There's
thinking,
some.
in
There's
terms
one.
of yours, was yours like written?
Well, there was two different ways, and I put in the signatures for both to have it both out there, so that when I'm at the deliberative, there can be a discussion.
Okay.
And maybe one will get, because I don't believe I can have both on there, but at least,
Well, if one passes, the other becomes null.
right. So
That's not the right word, but okay.
it becomes eliminated, and there's
Yeah.
only one placed on the actual ballot. So
Okay.
that was the whole intent of that. That's why I put in both of them, because I do
So the
think
language is a little bit different, but the intent is still the same.
that the intent is still the same.
Okay.
One involves all boards, meaning planning, zoning, land use boards, whereas the other one says all non-land use boards. But to me, either way, the other way with non-use, it's baby steps. You know, the fact is that if the people feel that they're willing to start here, that's great. But if the people feel they're willing to start here, that's great too.
Okay.
But it's not my decision. And maybe they
Okay.
say, no, we don't want to do it at all. We're happy with the way things are, and we don't care. And I back away and
Yeah,
I go,
but they-
okay.
Yep.
No
Everybody-
worries.
Everybody got to have their input.
Yeah.
Okay.
At the end of the day, that's really what we have to be mindful
Now, are
of.
there some other articles on there? I mean, other than the normal
I haven't seen
town
all of
presented
them.
articles?
There is one about getting rid of the TIF district.
Is that a
it-
petition article?
There's two of them, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And I'll
Can you
kinda-
explain a little bit about TIF, because a lot of people
Well,
don't
it-
have any clue what that is.
What a TIF district is they defer the taxes. So that when a building is built in an area, there's taxes, and those taxes go into a deferred account to be used to create infrastructure up there. So it doesn't come into the general budget, so it's not used immediately in the town.
But if it's not used,
It then
At
after
that
so
point,
many
then it comes
years,
back
after
to
so
the
many
general
years,
fund.
it goes back into the general fund. If there is no other thing up there that needs to be
Right.
done.
but isn't it a little bit like sort of
I'm
an
not
incentive?
necessarily for it
No, but I'm just saying.
because it
was that
really
int-
benefits the
I think
landowners
it
and the
was
developers.
intended, if I remember the whole process correctly, I think it was intended to be a way of incentivizing companies to come into an area that wasn't fully established yet. No, I mean, I think that was the intent. I don't know that that's what has actually happened, because
I'd like to say that was the intent, but in my mind, it really is to aid developers, builders, and landowners
Okay.
to be able to negotiate better. What these two are saying is, one is saying get rid of what we have in process, and then a new one that makes every TIF go to the voters. So the council doesn't say, oh yeah, we want to do this, we want to help this, we want to put this in. It would have to go to the voters for the voters to say, yeah, we're willing to give away that tax money to those guys to get that in there or to work on that piece of land, as opposed to the council having that decision.
Yeah,
And
cool.
again, see, for me, it's always about
Yeah.
the majority.
I
I'm
know.
sorry.
Now, has the town attorney come down with an opinion on the
Again,
legality of this?
I am going to say it's opinions.
Well, no, but I mean, has he
Yes,
stated?
and yes, he
Okay.
has. But
Okay.
keep in mind one thing: the town attorney works for the town, so he will give the answer that's best for the town, not necessarily that it's legal or illegal. He's saying this is what's best for the town, not necessarily what is legal or illegal. If you can understand what I'm saying.
I do understand what you're saying, but I would.
Because law
I
is
don't
funny,
like
especially.
that.
The law is really funny because a lot of it is interpretational.
Oh, of course,
And
yeah.
so
That's why
you
there's so
ask
many
6
lawyers.
attorneys and they'll all give you a different answer depending on
Exactly.
who they're looking for the answer for. So
And depending on how you ask the question.
that too.
Yeah.
So it's really a gray area, and I'm not I'm not a lawyer.
yeah.
I wish
Well,
the world had less of
I'm
them.
not a lawyer, but I did give birth to one.
Well, there you go.
Okay.
I try to avoid them at all costs.
And she's one of those wonderful lawyers.
But that I think that, to keep people honest, it really should, and to make sure that nothing like pay to play happens in our town. God forbid if that does, that's really bad. We want to keep people as honest and forthright as possible. So
absolutely.
to me, again, putting it out to the public that has no agenda except for their wallet, which it's their money anyway at the end of the day.
Hopefully they have some, lofty opinions and goals and
There you go.
things too.
So that's that one. And then the other one is about the town common. I have not read it, so I'm not
Okay.
going to lie.
Okay.
I do know that it's there. I don't know what it says. I know they want it
there's-
to go into the town manager's hands. There are a lot of people who feel that if that happens, they'll lose control over it, and that's why they want it. There are a lot of people that want the town common area to stay as it is with small improvements, but really keeping the
I sure would
character
like
of
to
it.
dress up that little bandstand.
Well, that's a small improvement. That would not be
Well,
what
for
this
years
is
we were
about.
told we couldn't even paint it a different color because the person who gave it to the town left, I think something in trust to, I have no idea.
You know more than
But
me. You've been here
finally,
longer.
eventually, we were able to paint it, so that was a good thing. But
But
yeah, improvements are good.
They are, but maybe not
I'm
giant or
thinking-
dramatic changes in the sense of, moving the bandstand or moving statues or,
Yeah.
regrading and putting in,
I'm thinking of things
drainage,
that would,
which I'm not against drainage, but I think that they need to look at a more natural way with grading and maybe willows and ground plants because it's not
That will
all the
help,
time
yeah.
that they have water.
Yeah.
So really, do you need to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, or can you get away with it with minimal natural ways to do it that A, would enhance the look, and B, would address the situation? I don't
now
know.
when we're talking about the town common, are they including the town forest? It's so strange to me that that piece of, those trees behind the town common are considered our town forest.
Well,
But it
that
is, and it
implementation
has.
committee-
Okay,
According to the master plan, it's all kind of part of our center of town. They've decided that that is our center according to the master plan.
it is now, yes.
And it goes from Andy Mack's farm all the way down to the end of the school district and then right and left. And what is that vision? How does it tie in? How do we get more trails for the neighborhoods there to come down there? How can we make it more functional? But this is my opinion again. Personally, I think you need to have the stakeholders there. You need to have the Grange come, the Historical Society come, the Macs come, the school be there, people in those neighborhoods, the churches.
yeah.
They all need to be part of that because it all affects them directly.
Of course it does.
And therefore, they really should come and state their opinion before things are done. I know some people feel that, they know what's best and they, we'll just push it through. We know what to do. I am not of that mindset. I sincerely believe that if this change affects all these people and all this,
They all should have a say.
they all should have a say in it before action is taken. I mean, we've waited all these years to do something. Why do we need to rush through it now? I just,
I don't know, Deb, you're making an awful lot of sense.
it's scary, isn't it? But that's a warrant. And, I know that people voted against it last year because they wanted to stay in the conservation so that because conservation won't change anything. And then there are a group that would like it to go to the town manager because they feel then they'll have momentum going. I personally think it should stay with the conservation and that it should be done at a little slower pace and that there should be a center of town committee that maybe comes off of this master that actually gets this data and information and does a little bit more homework rather than rushing. I'm against just jumping in and storming without knowing what's inside.
Sounds good to me.
And so those are different that I know of that are out
Yeah.
there warrants.
So again, the date for the deliberative session to discuss those things?
For the school,
Well, for the town, because
For
we're
the
talking about
town,
town
it's the
right now.
6th.
The 6th. and
it's a
that's
Saturday morning. I want to
Usually
say
at 9.
Is it 9?
Usually starts at 9. Mhm.
I don't. I
And
have,
these meetings have only been running like maybe till noon. They used to run all day,
Right.
and sometimes into another day. But now they run approximately 3 hours.
And,
I would
and if
say.
you have children and you're saying, oh, I don't want to come with my children, there is a place for them. So don't be afraid to bring your children.
There is going to be, okay.
They usually offer it. I have not heard that they're not going to do it this year, but they
Okay.
usually offer some sort of, put your kids here, and some high school students will kind of
Yeah,
color
I know
with
that's
them. And
gone. Some years yes, some years no. So check on that and see. But
Well-
if your children are older, I mean, if they're little, of course not. But if they're older,
just sit them in the
this is
back
good
and plug them in.
training. This is good training. I mean, I can remember before I was old enough to go to a town meeting. I grew up in Chester, and in Chester, it was like a really big deal for us. We would go, we sat in the balcony over the meeting, and we watched what was going on, and we got to understand the motions and how to do things.
Is that in
and-
Stevens Hall?
Stevens Hall?
Yeah. In Chester, the Stevens
The-
Hall, the white building next to the new lot.
Right to the, yeah.
across the street from the
with-
church?
With
Near
the,
the
yeah, where the
cemetery is?
library is.
Yeah.
It was upstairs.
Stevens Hall,
Yeah,
okay.
upstairs, yeah.
Sorry.
I don't remember ever calling it that. We always called it the town hall. But yeah, that was, it was a good training ground. And I think that it really did instill in people that they could participate, and this is how you learn and how you do
And
it.
that you can make a
and you're
difference.
not overwhelmed by, oh my God, I don't know how this works. So,
Well, even if your kid is in the back playing on their phones, plugged in, they're still feeling that. They're
Yeah,
still
it's
understanding
community.
that my mom's here or my dad's here because they want to make a difference.
yeah.
And that is there, believe it or not, and they're remembering. And
Yeah.
when the day comes, they'll step forward and go, well, because that's what my mom and dad did.
Yeah, and one of the best things we can instill in our kids is that sense of volunteerism and the value of it.
And standing up for what they believe. Their principles
absolutely.
are very,
Yep.
very important. Everyone's principle is, but you need to know what your principle is, and you need to put it out there.
Yeah.
But
agree.
the other
I
thing
agree.
is, the 300th is coming. We're getting ready. We have a group together. We're getting ready
Wow.
to celebrate with Londonderry, Derry, and Wyndham. So that is
So we're going to
another
be celebrating Nutfield,
Nutfield,
Yeah.
yes.
which is what we all were before.
Correct, because
Yeah.
of the walnut trees. Yep. That is now in blight.
Yeah.
But
Not because of the population, because of the trees.
correct. But that I just wanted to put that out there.
That's
That
good.
is out there.
Yeah.
So if somebody's
So
out
it's
there and
coming.
wants to participate in that, has a great idea, please bring it forward. The other thing that's coming up, May 12th, I said it last year, it's the fundraiser, it's the wine tasting.
Oh, yes.
And
For
for the
the Y.
YMCA, putting on another hat here, it's very important. We're trying to move forward to getting a lodge that will be a teen center.
A teen center. Wow.
Yes, hopefully.
About time.
Well, it's a lot of work, and we're moving forward. And part of it was getting that land next door to us, and we finally got enough money to get that. The Y is an intricate part of Londonderry. We should embrace it. It really is there. If you need a place to use for a facility, they're open to you. You want to
Yeah.
start a class, you want to do something, use
Let
that
'em know,
facility.
yeah.
Or you need help with an event, and you need bodies, they will come and help you with your event.
Yeah.
They're here to be part of the community. I mean, part of the senior center too. They want to
Oh,
help
yeah,
and
they
come and
do,
do
yeah.
yoga classes. If there's not enough space, we welcome them to come. We'll even come with our little shuttle bus and pick you up from the senior center, take
Well,
you
I
to the
didn't know
Y, and
that.
drive you back. But it hasn't been acted on, but it's been put out there.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
The YMCA is mind, body, spirit. So it is the family unit. So we embrace seniors and want to help with the seniors. We want to help with families, and we want to help with children.
Yeah.
So it embraces all of it. And now with the Live Strong program there, thanks to you, we got a lot of people involved.
I'm glad.
And that's a great program. So hopefully we'll expand on that. But that's there too. So keep that in mind. And this money goes to kids who can't afford camp.
And I was
And
just
so we
going to
look for
say,
donations,
Yeah.
either items to be auctioned off for us to raise. We look for you to buy a ticket to come and bid on those auction items. There'll be food. We have 15 food vendors, and I think 18 different wine, beer, and maple syrup whiskey kind of people,
Oh,
and
wow.
all kinds. But it's there. and
Maybe
you
I would like beer.
There you go. But all types of different things for people to taste and try and to socialize, and all of it goes to a great cause. And we try to teach leadership in our kids. It's one of our big programs, and to make sure the kids are there to mentor other kids. And it's very important to instill these things.
And I'm glad that you brought up what the fundraiser is for, because one of the things that I've noticed when I'm talking to people about the why sometimes is they'll say, yeah, but I really can't afford it. We do have people in the community that can't afford for whatever reason.
There's money there.
But there is, yeah. So don't decide that you can't
And
have your kid involved in programs,
and it's
or
very
you can't
private.
do something.
If you feel that way,
Exactly.
it can be very discreet. No one will know.
Yeah.
We don't want to deny kids any camp or
No,
any
no.
opportunity, or any family
Yeah,
any
yeah.
opportunity. The Livestrong programs are free. So that we try to do that
Yeah,
that way.
yeah.
And the Y is a good partner of the Women's Club, and we partnered with the Upper Room, and we partner with CATS, and when a family is distressed sometimes, who's a Y family, I mean, we had someone who needed an apartment, there was a terrible situation, they needed
Yeah.
an apartment. Everybody pulled together. The
Yeah.
Women's Club
Yeah.
came in with food and gift cards, and we got an apartment, and then people pulled up with all kinds of things, to free legal services all the way through,
Yeah.
to help this family. And it was all very discreet. No one knew anything
Yeah.
except for the very
Yeah.
key people. And even then, I was one of the key people. I didn't know
Didn't
who
know
it was. And I
Yeah.
didn't need to.
Yeah.
I just know that somebody needed help.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's, what a community is supposed to do.
Yeah, we've had the Y on the show in the past, and I'm always impressed with the professionalism. Of
And
them.
Lance is
It's-
gone. He has gone to Boston, but
Ah.
a Londonderry resident, will be finding hopefully a new director, executive director very soon. I
Okay.
know who it is. I can't tell you, but
That's
it's very
okay.
great. This
Yeah,
person's
yeah,
great.
Yeah.
Worked with them before. Very excited about it. So we're looking for big companies like the Millcats and the FedExes, hopefully to step forward with some good-sized checks, and the Home Depots of the world, to be able to give us a bunch of gift cards to auction
Sure,
off or
that's
something
great.
like that.
Okay.
And we had to move the event. It used to be at the Y.
But
It's not
too
anymore.
big.
We needed a bigger venue. I'm not the Y. We used to be at the Yard. Excuse me.
Oh, okay.
But we outgrew the Yard, and so now we're going to is it Cyril's Castle in Wyndham?
Oh,
the
wow.
function hall there.
Yes, yes.
So it's going to be held there this year,
Uh-huh,
only
okay.
because we needed a bigger venue, and hopefully in about a year or two we'll need an even bigger venue to have all of the people and all
Yeah.
of the stuff happen.
That's a good problem to have. Needing more and more space for that. That's great.
I agree.
Yeah. So
agree.
any other big events going on in the community that we should?
Nope, just come.
Okay.
If you're interested, come Thursday on the 20th here at 7 o'clock. Like I said, the 300th, the deliberative,
Yeah.
both school and town. It's very important, and I do hope that somebody steps up for school board. There's one school board seat open, 2 town council seats that are opened. You have until
Now, who are is
John
Ferrier?
LaFerriere is up,
Okay.
and John Farrell and Tom Dolan are up, which
Okay.
I think both of them, all 3 of them, as far as I know, is still running.
Okay,
January 20th is the first day
first day.
to register, and then I think it's a week you have, or a week and a half,
Yeah, it's about a week and a half, I think,
to
altogether.
sign and to get in. I have something in the paper
Yeah, it's
about
the
it.
following Friday at 5 o'clock is the,
Cutoff,
Cut
if you
off,
want to do it. And
yeah.
the only thing you need is your driver's license and a little bit of fight.
and a couple of bucks.
Well, a couple of bucks.
Yeah. You have to pay to show you're serious, like just a few dollars. So.
Yeah. Well, I
But-
hope people do step
yeah.
up. I really do.
So if you want to sign up for school board position, which were listed in the paper this week,
Right. You go-
then you can go to the school district office and connect there. And if you want to sign up for one of the town positions, you go to the town clerk's office.
Right, and there are many, many volunteer positions open. I think
Yeah,
there are positions for the
lot
rec
that are not
commission.
even, yeah, those are not elected positions.
No, they're
These are
appointed. You just got to fill out a
Yep.
form.
Yep.
It's online, or you can bring it. Go into the town manager's office and speak to Kirby. She's always a delight, and fill out the form, and you'll get interviewed, and hopefully you'll get the position. There's, I believe, still another seat: conservation,
Yeah.
zoning board. I can't remember them all, but there are a few open. There's the International Exchange has some, the Demolition Delay has some, so the Heritage, there's always positions opened. And even if you are an alternate, and this has been questioned, and nobody knows how this really works, whether if you're an alternate and a full-time position opens up, does the alternate automatically move forward, or do they have to apply and they take precedent over the person first time applying? Do they just should they be instructed to go to alternate?
Historically, the
Nobody
way it's
seems to
been,
know.
the way it's been done historically is that the alternate is sort of a learning position, and you fill in when somebody's not there, and then when a full-time position opens up, if you want it, you usually can move into it. But I know it varies from place to place
And-
because there are no actual policies and procedures
Exactly,
in place.
and that's what I wanted to shine on. This goes all back to my
Exactly.
term
Yeah.
limits.
Yeah.
it puts these
Isn't it
things
funny
out
how
there.
it went right around there like that?
I know, right? We're good. CNN, look out. No. But no, you know what I'm saying? Like, that brings it around, and at least something will be written,
Yeah.
and everybody will be held to the same standards. And that's real important, so that one board doesn't feel more or less.
Yeah.
I think there's even openings on the solid waste, too. That's another one.
Oh, yeah, I think there is, yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember off
Yeah,
the top
there's
of my
a
head.
lot.
There is a
There's
lot.
And they are all listed on the town website.
And even if you can't get on, but you're interested, so say that there's no positions open, go to the meetings as much as you can.
Yes.
The public is
Learn.
welcome to give input. So, you kind of have a dialogue with you, even though you're not on there.
Yeah.
It opens the door. Again, it gets you known, and it
Now
helps
that-
you move you
yeah.
forward.
Now that's another thing. That's actually I
Attendance.
was there when that started. Okay, I remember going to the school board meetings when they were downstairs in one of the professional buildings up on 102,
St.
across from
Mary's.
the St. Mary's.
Wasn't it in St. Mary's Bank?
No, that's where the town hall was for a
Oh.
while. This was right next to the post office was the school district office in one of those professional buildings.
Okay.
Downstairs
Okay.
in the basement.
Okay.
And it was a very small room, and that's where the school board meetings were held, the regular monthly meetings. And 3 of us as PTA members wanted more involvement with the school board, so we started going to those meetings, which made them very nervous because people hadn't come before. This was back in the 70s. And it was Bob Lincoln again. Okay, remember the poor man? He's sitting there at a meeting, and he's trying to figure out why we're there, and he's looking at the agenda, and he said, "I think we should move to item such and such. I'm sure that's why Ms. Grover's here." And I just said, "Well, actually, Mr. Lincoln, I'm here for everything. I find it totally fascinating." And then he didn't know what to do. But as a result of that involvement and us getting more people involved, we ended up having them actually put on their agenda public comment. And you now see that on the town's side as well. And it's not law.
I'm not even sure if
It's
that's
not-
there on the school side anymore. But go ahead.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't been to a school board meeting in a long time.
I had heard people complain about that, and I haven't checked, so I'm not gonna.
It needs to be, and we set policies on this. It needs to be somewhat controlled. You can bring something up. Don't expect a decision to be made if you bring it up under public comment, but bring that information forward. A chairman on top of things would most likely say, "That's very interesting. Let us take that under advisement if you're looking for some action."
Right.
That way they have time to get all the information, come back at a future meeting. But public comment, free speech, come on.
Well, the whole thing is
but
people.
you need to not go in there and take 30 minutes to give your one idea.
Well,
be
and
respectful.
people will ask a question, like, and I'll bring this up, and I know this is a sore spot, and that's why I'll bring it up.
Okay.
People will say, why do we have such a big fire department when really we need a bigger ambulance or EMT department, and shouldn't that be separate? And maybe we should look outside. So somebody brought that forward to do an investigation.
They did. I remember.
And then months went by before an answer was there, because if you bring something up to ask about something, you need to keep coming back, because their answer
Make sure
is,
they know.
I'll have the town manager look into it. They're not going to necessarily bring it forward again unless you come forward and say, well, have you gotten the response yet? Do you know the answer to that question? Do you understand what's going on with this? I was here, a month ago, you said you were going to look into it. I haven't seen anything or heard anything. I want to know what's going on. And you need to do it publicly, because what they will try to do is contact you privately.
And answer the question.
God
But-
bless. And I'm sorry.
That's okay.
And you have to kind of do that, because you really, you have an issue and you go to a council privately, it gets food, and you kind of get burnt out, and hopefully, and what they're hoping for most of the time is that you go away.
Well, I think not necessarily even hoping for. I think that's almost a test, because if you bring something up, it might just be an off-the-cuff kind of thing and not really all that important to you, and you never care about the answer for real. It's almost like a test for you. Are you going to come back? Are you going to pursue it?
But it also keeps everything out there and everything honest.
Yeah.
I really am
No, I
so
definitely
about
like to see it being done in public. If you have that question, ask it in public.
Right.
I
Well, it's
agree.
just like
Yeah.
me. I'd like to see, I always see, town councilors and school board members always marching in sync. Very rarely do you see one person stand out. And even if they're against something, they end up voting yes just because they know their vote really didn't mean anything at that point. But in fact, it does.
It does.
Because 10 years from now, when we have a similar situation and we look at historically what happened, they may not read all the minutes. They may just read,
The vote.
how did the vote happen? Everybody was in favor, so therefore there was no conflict back then, which is an assumption. And that's why it's real important for our counselors and school board people to say, you know what? I cannot vote for this.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this. And this is the reasons why. And never mind negotiating
get that on the
quietly with
record.
each other in the back or whatever. We, the people, have a right to know how you got to this answer. And if you want people to have more faith in government, period, I mean, this goes across the board. This goes all the way up to
Oh, yeah.
reps and senators and Congress and
Presidential
presidents
candidates.
and all of them. If things are done more out in the open and people know your principle, your agenda, and what it means to you, why you're doing this, that is really, I think, is saying you're an honest person. I'm willing to let you, as opposed to trying to show a unified face and, everybody's on
No,
the
I
same
agree.
page.
I
and,
agree.
all right,
Yeah, I
well, I
respect
know
the
you're
person.
against this vote, but I'll back you on the thing I'm against in the next vote. That kind of stuff,
Yeah,
I
no.
really don't like.
Yeah.
I don't like. Again, that's the empowerment. That's the good old boy. That's the all of it. The conspiracy
Yep.
that I just think. If you want people to believe that doesn't go on, and people, I'm sure people are going to take
Speak
offense
up.
to this.
Speak up.
And this is just my own opinion. And it's not personal. It's not anything. It's just you should just step it forward and say, you know what? I don't want to have this conversation here. I'm going to have it out front with everyone.
And that's a good place to wrap.
I'm sorry.
Don't you think? Why are you sorry?
I
Good
went on
opinions.
too long.
No, you did not go on too long. But what I do want to take a minute to again invite people to come here, 14th at 7 o'clock. No,
20th.
20th. So you got changed. The 20th at 7
the 20th
o'clock.
was the original. Someone tried to change it to a 14th, but
Okay,
the
all right,
20th
the
was
20th.
the original.
And the meeting starts at 7, so if you want to sit in the audience, please come a few minutes earlier so we can make sure that you're all seated before we start meeting. We don't want to disrupt the meeting itself once it starts going. So I hope that you'll come for that, and if you're not coming, I hope you will at least watch. We're going to go live on Channel 20.
Oh, good.
And then we will replay, because it is a government meeting, we'll have it replayed on 22. And if you want to know what's going on the access channels, you just need to go to their website, lactv.com, and everything is right there for you. There's a great website that they've put together, and it's pretty easy to maneuver. So if that's not good enough, give them a call, because they always answer their phone, too.
There you go.
432-1147. There will be more contact information at the end of the show. And if you'd like to be on the show for anything, any topic that you want, we're definitely all about the freedom of speech thing here. So we'd love to have you. Please call the studio and let them know. They'll get you in touch with me. There's contact information at the end of the show as well. And I'm going to put the offer out now, and I will repeat this offer going forward. Anyone who is running for elected office, please take advantage of this forum. come on here. We will run, I'll cut you off at an hour, but if that's not enough, I'll have you back on again another time. But come on, express your views. Why do you want to run? What do you think you can contribute to the office? How do you think that will improve living in Londonderry? That's what it's all about, taking care of each other.
You said it, sister.
So I hope that you will tune in, come on the show, watch the show, let us know what you're thinking, and join us next time. Thank you very much. And Deb, thank you for being
Oh,
on
thank
the
you for
show.
having me.
I really enjoyed it
Thanks.
very much. Thank you.